I hope people can see me there. It says I'm live. It's the first time I've done this, so it's exciting. But basically, I'm going to give a talk today on the difference between marijuana, cannabis, hemp, and tobacco. The reason why I feel this is such an important topic is November is Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And being somebody who geeks out on cannabis, I think it's really important for people to be aware about what actually causes lung cancer when we're talking about smoke. So I will break for questions and I'll look for questions. You can follow me, hit follow in the live cast there. You can ask a question as it's coming up. I'm going to get started. So basically, when we're talking about the cannabis plant, cannabis sativa. This is marijuana, hemp, and cannabis. They're basically the same thing. It's just the amount of medicated resin, the actual compounds that are found in the plant that make it different. So hemp is generally grown for fiber and textiles and paper and things like that. And it has a very low amount of THC and CBD and the other cannabinoids that you see back here. Because it's really the plant matter that we're going for, the fiber. Marijuana and cannabis are the type of hemp or cannabis plant that has very high amounts of THC and CBD, these active ingredients in the plant. And marijuana is just a slang term. So when we're talking about cannabis or medical marijuana or medicinal cannabis or marijuana, those are all basically the same things. It is important to note the distinction between THC and CBD, which is really important. THC is the main ingredient in cannabis that gets you high. It's psychoactive. It's a strong chemical. You feel it in your body. When you live in the US, this is a regulated chemical. It's considered a Schedule I substance with absolutely no medical benefit. So that's an important distinction. CBD, or cannabidiol, is another compound that's found in hemp and marijuana and cannabis, found in the cannabis plant, and it's a much milder chemical. It doesn't get one high. It does have an altering effect. Even if you have an anxiety attack and you take CBD, that alters your state of being, so it is an alterant, but we're not getting high off of CBD. And CBD is legal. You can buy it at the Whole Foods if you want to. You can buy it off my website, EzraHelps.com. And then we have tobacco. So tobacco is also a plant, and it's been a medicinal herbal plant for hundreds of years. In fact, it was grown by Native Americans far before any Europeans came to North America, and it was Europeans that actually brought hemp to North America. So nicotine or nicotiana, the tobacco plant, has been around for a long time. And people have used it medicinally, just like cannabis, for various things, for healing wounds. And the active ingredient, nicotine, is similar to the compounds found in hemp, marijuana, and cannabis in that we do have some receptor sites for it. And it does activate the body. But this is where the two plants diverge. Nicotine itself is not a cancerous agent. It doesn't cause cancer. But the cured tobacco leaf, when they harvest the plant, dry it, and cure it over many days, it does create chemicals that when they enter your body, trigger cells in your body to become carcinogenic, to become cancerous. And this is a huge distinction. What they've found when they do tests, and this was a really easy thing for the National Institute of Drug Abuse and people who were against any kind of legalization of marijuana. They said, oh, well, let's just test marijuana smoke and we'll determine that it causes cancer just like tobacco. And then we will tell the world that it's, marijuana is just as bad. What they found is they could not find a link between marijuana and the chemicals that are found in marijuana and cancer in our body. Now, it gets a little complicated because when you analyze all the compounds in the cannabis plant, there are carcinogens. There are chemicals that have been known to cause cancer in cells. A brief explanation of cancer is when you have a cell and it starts to multiply and gets out of control and creates a tumor. So it's actually a normal cell in our body. It's not this evil invader. It's a normal cell in our body that gets confused and gets triggered into a process of multiplying and becomes a tumor, which is unhealthy for the body. The chemicals in cannabis do not make this occur. They are actually protective. And this is why it's very simple in the numbers. We basically have about 400,000 people in the US alone that die from tobacco-related deaths. We're talking about 3 to 5 million people worldwide that get cancer in the lungs and have lung-related disease from the tobacco plant. Nicotine itself is an extremely toxic chemical at large amounts. Hi everybody, different setting behind me. We had connection issues. So let me just recap. I'm Ezra Helps, EzraHelps.com. I'm a cannabis consultant. Today for November, which is National Lung Cancer Awareness Month, I'm talking about the distinction between the cannabis plant and the tobacco plant, which is really important because basically they both have chemicals in them. Many of the chemicals in the cannabis plant have been shown to be carcinogenic, which means those chemicals alone can make cells go cancerous, become cancerous. They are cancer promoters. And then the chemicals that are found in tobacco are also found to be carcinogenic. But here's the difference. Once the chemicals from cannabis enter the lungs, they do not have that effect on the body. The chemicals latch onto the cells in the lungs, and those carcinogens are prevented from forcing that cell to become carcinogenic because the action of the cannabinoids, these are the chemicals that are THC, CBD, these important chemicals in the plant, they are protective. What they do is they balance the cell's behavior, they regulate the cell's behavior, and they prevent cancer from occurring in those cells. Tobacco, when we're talking about tobacco, the cured cannabis leaf with the nicotine in it, when that enters the lung, they have a very specific trigger of cancerous behavior in cells. And that's why you have such a huge disparity of numbers. There's actually never been a single case of a human getting lung cancer directly from marijuana smoke. Whereas we have 3 to 5 million people a year across the globe who have cancer or fatal, it's essentially killing them from smoking marijuana, from smoking tobacco smoke. So the chemicals are very distinctive. Nicotine and the chemicals that are produced in the tobacco plant are carcinogenic. They do make the cells become cancerous. And the chemicals inside marijuana are protective. They actually prevent cells from being cancerous. Now, they have done a lot of tests on this. There's one study that does link some of the actions of the cannabis plant to pro-cancerous behavior in the cell. But as I said, no serious link has ever been connected. And as a professional cannabis consultant, this is really important because a lot of people come to me who have cancer, who have lung cancer even, or who are hoping to prevent cancer or worried about cancer. And it's really important that I make them understand the distinction between the dangers of tobacco smoke, which are really real, and the safety of cannabis smoke, and that's important. Now, here's another amazing fact that CBD, cannabidiol, the compound, the secondary compound of cannabis, secondary to THC, because THC is what gets us high. CBD is the secondary compound, and it's actually been shown to reduce people's craving for nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive substance. Your body becomes physically addicted to it. Our body does not become physically addicted to the compounds in cannabis. So when you take in CBD, and if you take in CBD at high amounts, at high dosages, say 100 milligrams a day, you can actually bring back your nicotine, pull back your nicotine cravings. So not only does cannabis not create cancer cells in the lungs, there are no links to cancer and cannabis smoke, but some of the compounds in cannabis reduce nicotine cravings, and this is essential for smokers. So I'll actually have smokers come to me, cigarette smokers come to me, curious about how to use medical marijuana or using it for other ailments, and I'll tell them that if they use CBD at high amounts, and you can even smoke CBD in a vaporizer, I sell it off my website, and this will reduce your craving of nicotine. So not only does cannabis not cause cancer, it's actually helping, if used correctly, to reduce nicotine and tobacco smoke intake in smokers. So as we become aware of November, Lung Cancer Awareness Month, it's a huge distinction between these two. And as somebody who's interested in health, and I'm a parent and a husband, I want to make sure that what I'm talking about is safe for my community. And so I really strongly believe that cannabis is a much safer medicinal herb for the lungs than nicotine. Now, I think that basically sums up what I'm getting at in terms of the difference between cannabis and tobacco. If you have any questions about my live feed, you can reach me at EzraHelps.com. You can comment on the video and I'll come back to it. If you have any ideas for other topics you want me to cover, I'm happy to do that as well. Next week, I'm going to be talking at the same time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook Live, and I'll be talking about different ingestion methods. So there's topical cannabis, there's cannabis that we inhale into our lungs, and there's cannabis that we take orally into our GI tract. And they all have different effects and serve patients in different ways in terms of addressing ailments. So I'll be talking about that next week. You can follow me. You can ask to join my private Facebook group where I talk about medical cannabis, and you can find me for a consultation at EzraHelps.com. Until then, take care.